What is good people? You are now listening to another episode of Since We Last Spoke with Danny Foxworth. I am your humble narrator, Danny Foxworth, and once again, we're joined by an extremely special guest. I became familiar with this dude over the Okayplayer message boards. He was the nutty Kentucky fan known as the real Billy Ocean, and it wasn't until I migrated over to Twitter and noticed that we had some of the same mutuals that were on the OKP boards, and now noticed that this same dude was also passionate about Kentucky. And then I started putting two and two together, and I'm like, wait a minute, same dude. I was like, oh shit, the veil has been lifted. So yeah, this guy right here, man, just rabid Kentucky fan, author, all kinds of good shit we're going to get into. So, ladies and gentlemen, we got the great CA Huggins in the building. CA, what's good, bro?
Uh, Thank you. That was a great introduction. Thank you, Daddy. Yeah, everything's cool. Everything's cool. Just hanging out, Monday. We was talking about daylight savings time.
Yeah.
Just trying to get back on track.
Yeah, that's a hard adjustment to do,
It
especially when
is.
you get into when you reach a certain age. You just like, oh boy, not this shit again.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's take it all the way back to the beginning. So what was life like for a young CA Huggins?
Life was pretty cool. I grew up in Brooklyn and East Flatbush, so it was a predominantly West Indian Caribbean neighborhood. Um, and I had a lot of family members that also lived in the same neighborhood.
Okay.
So I was kind of surrounded by family at all times. Um, yeah, I mean, I have an older sister, but she's older by like 5 years. So it was a lot of me just being annoying and really nagging and
Yeah.
her having to take me places with her and me bothering her friends, cracking jokes, making fun of them, and sometimes she had to lay hands on me if I got too carried away. Uh, so stuff like that. Just being a annoying little brother, little cousin too, because there's a big age gap between me and my other cousins. Um, and then also a lot of just the regular stuff, playing with GI Joes, TV watching, a lot of TV watching, music video watching, stuff like that.
So what were some of your favorite TV shows to watch?
Oh, well, different strokes, of course. That's the go-to. Arnold
Yeah.
Arnold was my man. Uh, that might have been my first agenda too. Arnold versus Webster. That's the first time I had to take a side. What else? Facts of Life, Jeffersons.
hmm
Uh, what's happening? The typical the typical black go-to good times.
Yeah.
All the basics.
So what was your first ambition as a child? Like what you wanted to be when you grew up?
As a child, I think I wanted to be a scientist. I want. I don't know where that came from. Maybe like I don't know, watching Transformers or something like that. Then a ninja. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Want to be a ninja. Michael
Word.
Dudikoff too, American Ninja.
Dude, I
Uh,
I literally watched that last night.
you did?
Yeah, it's on Tubi.
It's part one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a classic. Has my man, was it Steve James in it? He's
Yes.
just unnecessary.
God rest his soul.
Yeah, he's one of my favorite actors. Uh,
That dude had the meanest mustache.
he did, he did. Uh, what else? Yeah, I think along those lines, and then eventually, got into sports, wanted to play football, stuff like that.
So when did the basketball itch come about?
Oh, that didn't come until later on. So I was I wasn't really into basketball for until maybe about like 12 years old or so. We moved from Brooklyn to New Jersey, so South New Jersey near Philadelphia.
Okay.
And then I was around my older cousin Mike, and he played basketball. And so I would tag along but I was horrible. I was pretty bad. Everybody was beating me. Yeah, I was pretty bad. And then I started liking it a little bit more, started knowing the rules because I was dribbling like Jalen Brown. Yeah, I was looking crazy.
Shots
um,
fired.
yeah, I was pretty bad. And then I started watching more. Then when I dig deep into something, I was like extremely nerd out on it. So I would try to learn all the players and where they're from. I would get basketball cards and learn all the stats and stuff like that. So I would do deep dives before it was a cool thing to do. So like
Man, so
around age 12.
okay. So did your folks were they heavy into sports?
Uh my mom, no, my dad, yes. So my dad, growing up, he's a hardcore New York fan. So he loves the Knicks, he loves the Mets, he loves the Jets, and he loves the Rangers. Um, but then also he'll root for the other New York teams once his team gets kicked out of the playoffs. So he's
Okay.
pretty. I've seen him a couple of times root for Buffalo. I was like, come on, Dad, that's not even like it's in the state. Uh, yeah, so I watch sports a lot with him, especially baseball. Early on basketball too. Um, that's when I started liking the Knicks. That was probably like my formative years. Also, listening to sports talk radio, so WFAN. When I'm riding around with him in his
Dude,
car,
dude.
it
Oh
was a
my
lot of that.
God. Oh my God. It was so crazy to me discovering AM radio. So, because here I am as a teenager, like all the way down to Moncks Corner, South Carolina, and at night, just out of curiosity, I flip it to the AM station to see what I could find. And realizing that I could pick up WFAN in New York crystal clear, like all the way down here, was so mind blowing to me. It was to the point where I had a set schedule. So, especially in the summer times, after I got back in the house from playing hooping with my friends, I'd eat dinner, I'd go to my room, I fire up the Sega Genesis, and by the time the sun went down, I was able to catch the last hour of Mike and the Mad Dog, and it was
Oh
on
yeah,
since then.
I love Mike and the
Just
Mad Dog.
pure madness. There was one caller. His name was Jerome. I can't remember if he was from the Bronx or from Brooklyn. And whenever every time either the Knicks or the Yankees would lose, I would sit there doing the Birdman hand rub because I know this man is about to call in and lose his absolute mind. And he never disappointed. WFAN was the best, man.
Yeah, and those types of callers and listen to sports radio and like family members, that's what kind of got me into the mindset of how I follow sports, where I'm just like a rabid, like, oh, my team lost.
Yeah.
Even like playing video games, playing Tecmo Bowl, stuff like that. Uh, just really getting into it. I remember, funny you should say, when I was like a kid, maybe like I don't know, 11 years old, 12 years old, when I started getting into basketball,
Mm-hmm.
I would try to call into to the radio station because I had questions.
Yeah.
I had takes I wanted to tell, they'd hear my voice. I was all squeaky. They're like, "This is a kid." So a couple of times I tried to get my cousin to break through the first barrier, and
Mm-hmm.
then I never got on there though. They would hear me.
Oh man.
I was asking questions that they didn't care about either, because it'd be like New York radio, and I'm asking, okay, what do you think about Rex Chapman on the Bullets? And he's like, what the fuck? Get the fuck out of here!
Oh man. So speaking of which, how did you become so obsessed with the Kentucky Wildcats?
Well, like being a fan of the Knicks, I started watching them when Rick Pitino was the coach. Um,
Oh, makes sense.
so the kind of the Pitino teams, and then I think I was in like seventh grade or something like that. It was when they played Duke. So I started watching college basketball a little bit more, and I started realizing like the different teams, and I was like, oh, who am I going to follow? Who's going to be my team? And so I recognized Rick Pitino. I saw Jamal Mashburn, and he had a cool name. He had a high top fade. He looked cool. He was good.
Mm-hmm.
And I liked the way they played. They were an up and down team, shooting a lot of threes, and then they lost that heartbreaker to Duke. So I was like, okay, kind of how like a villain origin story is. I
Mm-hmm.
saw that and I was like, okay, I found my calling. And then yeah, slowly and surely just followed them the next year and just kept steamrolling and steamrolling. Now it's been quite a while now.
Man, and I overstepped for a second. I want to take it back just slightly.
All right.
I remember you posting a news clipping of your high school days, and I saw that you were putting up some buckets, man. So what was high school like the high school hooper era of CA Huggins?
Well, it was two different eras. So the clipping you saw, that was from like our like town league. So we had like a township league where we
Okay.
played and all those kids played. And that's where I could score. That's where I got most of my buckets. But when I got to the high school team, I just couldn't get playing time. And everybody would always wonder why aren't you getting in? And I'm like, I don't know. Coaches uh just didn't want to give me burn. He had lots of favorites, and I could kill in practice. I could kill in tryouts. I kill in the gym. I kill in summer league
Mm-hmm.
when it didn't count. But during the season, I couldn't get in. But when I did, the one time I did get in, especially senior night,
Mm-hmm.
that's when I started, and then I was 3 for 3. That's all I know. And then the coach is like, I'm sure you're going to tell me that you could have did that every game. I was like, yeah, I could have, but you know what I'm saying? I, and then it's also a thing about, when you're a kid, you don't really like speak up for yourself a lot. Or
That's
myself,
true.
I didn't like. He's an adult. He knows what he's doing. Like I should have challenged him a little bit more, right? I mean, if I could do it all over again, I would have entered the transfer portal.
Yeah. Man. So let's get back to the Wildcats. So who were some of your favorite Wildcat players?
Oof. You'll get me talking forever.
Let's go.
Mashburn. Uh, I didn't get a chance to see. I wasn't a fan when Rex Chapman played, but I was a fan of Rex Chapman even outside of the Wildcats. So I think he would be somewhere in there, but I didn't see him play for Kentucky. Um, Wayne Turner. Wayne Turner is one of my favorites because he's just a winner, classic winner. Um, I like Mercer, Ron Mercer, Derek Anderson, even Tayshaun Prince, Keith Bogans, Rondo, of course. Uh, Rondo's probably one of my favorites. I always like the feisty players with a little bit of attitude.
Yeah.
John Wall, Brandon Knight,
Oh yeah.
uh, Kid Gilchrist. I love MKG. Uh, yeah, I could just Jeff Shepard. Now like Reed Shepard, it's generations.
That's so wild to me that that's Jeff Shepard's son.
It is. It is.
I was a big Walter McCarty guy for some reason. Him and
Yeah, I like Walter too.
him and Derek Anderson. Derek Anderson is probably
Yeah.
my favorite Kentucky hooper.
Yeah, he was so nasty. He was so nasty. I mean, I remember like that one year, I think his senior year, when it was just him and Ron Mercer, and
Mm-hmm.
they were just killing until he injured his knee and then he missed most the rest of the season. But yeah, yeah, they were like Jordan and Pippen out there, just going back and forth, getting
Yeah.
buckets.
Man, and then God's favorite Saul Smith.
Yeah.
Man,
Yeah.
I hated his game. He used to get on my nerves.
It wasn't the best game. It wasn't. Everybody was always wondering why he's playing.
Yeah.
It was a big to do. His hair, the way he looked, he had a lot going against him. But you know, what are you gonna do? It's a coach's son.
Yeah.
I wish we would have got Gigi to play for us because Gigi was actually nice.
Yeah, Gigi could hoop. I remember
Yeah,
Gigi. He used to hoop at Georgia.
yeah, yeah. I thought he was gonna come over when Tubby came over, but nah.
Yeah. And I remember seeing Saul. He was when he was hooping in the G League, like when it first started. I think he played for the Columbus River Dragons.
Oh,
And
really? He was
yeah,
bad.
yeah, and I used to always sit behind the visitors bench because we had a local G League team down here too. And I remember I used to heckle the shit out of Saul Smith. It's a wonder I didn't get thrown out for that. I got thrown out for throwing popcorn at Matt Barnes, but not that.
You got you got to tell me that story.
Okay,
you,
so
you, you got all the enforcers coming after you. First bases,
yeah,
Matt Barnes.
so this was probably 2002, 2003, and one of my favorite teams to watch. Well, our local team was the Charleston Low Gators, and one of my favorite teams to watch them play was the Fayetteville Patriots, and they had let's see, Birdman was on the team, Chris Anderson. Who else was on the team? Jason Capel, Terrell
Oh, okay.
McIntyre used to play point guard at Clemson, and Matt Barnes was on the team. And there was one particular game he had a super hot hand, And like by after 3 quarters, he probably had about a smooth 32 points. And I may have had one or two drinks too many. And so they called timeout. Low Gators called timeout. And I'm just losing my shit. And I'm just like cussing Matt Barnes out. And I threw my box of popcorn and it just hit him on the shoulder and it just, poof. And like the box exploded, seemed like, and popcorn just went everywhere. And he turned around and he saw me and he just smirked because I'm like, all right, you 5'10, he's 6'8. You better not let him, climb up in the stands, or that's a wrap for you. And
Yeah.
security, they snatched me up and they threw me out to North Charleston Coliseum like Jazzy Jeff.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was bad. Man, fun times.
Oh, that sounds like fun. Oh,
Yeah, so
maybe Matt remembers that,
I hope
and
he
that's probably
doesn't.
and that's probably why he ran up on that little kid at that high school game. He
Yeah,
said, "You're gonna stop
he had
fucking
to,
with me."
yeah, he had to take it out on somebody. He's like, here's
Yeah.
my chance. So also to see that you are a quite the prolific author. So when did you get into writing books?
Well, I always been kind of creative, playing with toys, reading comics and stuff like that. Even when I was in like elementary school, maybe like third or fourth grade, I was writing comics and I was giving them to my mom so she could try to sell them, so she could sell them at work.
Uh-huh.
I don't know why I was entrepreneurial back then. So um, so I've always written and done stuff like that. So like in college, I went to college for English at the
Okay.
College of New Jersey, and so during my creative writing class, we had to do like I write a screenplay. So that's kind of when I refound my little creative juices, and I was got into writing again. So I would dabble writing screenplays, and then a couple screenplays I would write, and then I was like, this just doesn't sound right. Maybe I should try to write a book. And then it seemed kind of daunting at first, but then it was pretty liberating once I started doing it, seeing the pages just pile up and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and just my love of being independent and doing doing stuff the way I want to have me self-publish it and put it out there. Um, and yeah, so it's a pretty freeing activity that I like to do. I'm always writing something, trying to figure out or world building a story, writing a couple of different series and stuff like that. So it's a great outlet for myself.
So what's the difference between writing a screenplay and writing an actual book?
Well, the screenplay is pretty structured. So you have a set amount of pages that most screenplays are between 90 and 120.
Okay.
Um, and it's pretty dialogue driven and you got to write the action and stuff like that. And then also the thing that that deterred me from screenwriting itself is that the screenwriter themselves don't really have control over the finished
Oh,
product.
okay.
So they kind of give it to the director, and the director does what they want. Sometimes they do rewrites, but with a book, especially if I'm self-publishing the book, it's whatever I write is going out, and it's going out exactly how I want it.
Got
So I
you.
could put a little more detail. I could go off and do flashbacks if I want. I could just do. Yeah, I could take the story wherever my heart desires. So
So how long, what's the average amount of time it takes you to finish a book?
it might take me. I don't know. It depends. Like this, the books I'm writing now. I'm working on a new series. It takes me maybe like I don't know 2 months or so because
Okay.
I do a lot of extensive outlining uh, and have all these notes, and so I know exactly where I'm going to go. So just sitting down and just taking the time to write it takes maybe like 2 months. Then I it gets edited, and then I can put it out there.
Okay,
Sometimes it
cool.
might take a little longer. Like if I wrote a sci-fi series or a couple books for a sci-fi series that I do, and that takes maybe about a year or so because there's a lot more details, a lot more characters. I gotta,
Yeah.
yeah.
So when did you put your first book out?
Ooh, let me see, man. Maybe like I say maybe like 10, 12 years ago, something like that. If I I
Wow,
could look, yeah,
really?
yeah, yeah. I wrote like a little satire book called it's called Labor Pains. I put that out on Amazon and Barnes and Noble, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Is essentially a book that I wrote. Is about a guy who didn't really like his job but wanted to get promoted anyway. So he decided to get all his competitors and all his co-workers fired so he could get promoted and get a promotion. Um, so it's kind of like a little hijinks type of thing.
Okay.
Um, yeah, and I did that a while ago. Yeah, yeah.
And what's the most recent book that you wrote?
The most recent one would be the sci-fi series I write. It's called the Disruption series. It's essentially kind of like a multicultural, uh, I guess, kind of like sci-fi epic slash horror, where it's like this family more or less are out. This family and friends. There's a bunch of just a group of people, and it's like this big event that happens, and nobody knows what's going on. And then there's zombies and all types of like monsters and crazy werewolves and stuff like that. And then they find out that they that this event enabled them to have superpowers. So like somebody could run real fast, somebody could get invisible, somebody could stop time, stuff
Yeah.
like that. So it was fun just going and creating my own characters and putting them out there,
And
and
that's
then also
that's
putting
go
like
ahead.
a multicultural spin on it. So it's like not just the black guy that dies first and stuff like that. The Asian guy who's good at computers and it's just like you know something cool
And
that I would want to see.
that's so fascinating to me how you have such creative range where you can go from a guy trying to get over on his coworkers to get a promotion, and then go from that to creating a whole, penning a whole sci-fi series.
Yeah. Oh,
Man,
thank you.
yeah, like seriously, I wish I had that kind of range.
Yeah.
Kudos to you, man. That's truly is a testament to your creative flexibility, and I dig that.
Oh,
Seriously.
oh, thank you, man. This is all this flattery. This is nice. We should do this every week.
So now let's get to the meat and potatoes here. The OG social media, which is
Oh.
which I will say I never posted, but I am a serial lurker
Okay.
on the Devil's Playground known as the Okayplayer message board.
So why
So
didn't you post?
I I was more entertained by just watching the shit that people post instead of actually trying to contribute. But how did you get it? How did you get into the OKP boards?
Well, it's just about my love of hip hop and my underground music. So I first started off on the hieroglyphics message boards
Mm-hmm.
back in the day. So it was like it was the Hiero Imperium board. We'd be on there just talking about different music, and you hear this new release. Then it started getting a little bit weird over there. I
Yeah.
was like right around I would say the late '90s, early aughts when like all these different artists started coming out. Like I don't know if you remember like Anticon and stuff like that.
Oh my God, yes.
And they started
Yes.
talking about that. And I was like, I don't want no parts of this.
Like we really trying to have a conversation about Sage Francis right now.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I didn't want to do that. I was like, ah. Then I just looked up. I was like, oh man, am I the only black person in this? So then I was like, oh, there's got to
Man.
be some alternative. And so then Okayplayer, I found Okayplayer, and then I started posting there, talking about music and stuff like that. And then the general message board, it was kind of it's different there.
Yeah,
General
it
discussion is
really
different.
is.
And then I stumbled on the sports. I was like, whoa, what do we have here?
Mm-hmm.
And then that's when everything just kind of took off. Just a lot of man hours spent on there arguing about the dumbest shit
Yeah.
that we could find, just going back and forth, like waiting for somebody to respond to me and just, oh, you saw that reply, you saw that response, you better reply. You're just going back and forth and waiting for days, and you know, it was just fun, just having all these different discussions, arguments, and a lot of the same people I argue with now on Twitter.
Yeah, shout out to Bombastic.
Oh yeah, bombastic. He's the best.
Man, so who are some of your favorite personalities on the boards?
Let me see. Stacey Adams, he was one of my favorites. He's posting the GD a lot.
Yeah,
He was one of my favorites. Ba, uh,
yeah.
definitely. Orbit Established. I liked Orbit Established,
O
even though he was an
E.
asshole.
Oh my, with a capital A. That man was relentless.
Yeah, I liked him a lot. Bombastic. He's awesome. Uh, who else? Yeah, and the people Russ, Frank Longo
Hmm.
on there. Who else?
Can't forget
Let me
South
see.
Philly, man.
Yeah, South Philly man.
Man,
The stuff he was saying. They need to do a documentary on Okayplayer.
listen, they really do. They really, really do. I was loosely entertaining doing a message board appreciation episode. I might have to pull a
Yeah,
trigger
you
on
should do
that.
that. You should do that
But man, God,
because it was a great hub for everything. You know, that's where
yeah,
you found out your news. That's where you found out what was it?
yep,
Steven Jackson just hold on when the Pacers the melee at the Palace or something like
yeah,
that. Yeah, you just find out all this information, and then there's a lot of talent, like a lot of really talented people that sprung off of the Okayplayer message boards.
yeah.
And I remember there was rappers that show up and they'd be arguing back and forth. You know, Tyler Quelly, he never
God, that
looks past
guy,
the argument.
that guy, bro. How about when damn Melly Mel was on the boards?
Yeah,
That,
muscles.
yeah. Oh man, Melly Mel.
Yeah.
That man Statler and Waldorf rolled into one.
Yeah, it was off
And
the hook.
dude, and God, who else was I thinking of? The dude Janice,
Oh yeah, Janice was off the hook.
Janice J. Wild. Him, shit, who else was on there? Oh,
Mr.
Mr.
Max.
Max.
Yeah.
Mr. Max might be the greatest message board personality ever. If he's not the best, he's at least, in my humble opinion, top three. That man was unhinged.
I'll never say nothing bad about Mr. Max because he gave me a great book review on Amazon. So I was like, look at Mr. Max. Oh, that's my man.
Oh man, he's quick to call somebody a turkey.
Yeah,
That was
Turkey.
my favorite shit. I used to miss on the Five Starter podcast when Bob used to do the Mr. Max post of the week,
Yeah.
and he's Max called somebody a strawberry Cool Whip head turkey. I was like, damn. And boy, he used to ride hard for Michael Jackson.
Michael Jackson. And he
Crazy.
liked R. Kelly, right? Or
R.
he didn't like?
Kelly,
Yeah.
Rick James, and I remember he had a Justin Timberlake agenda too. Like the MJ was better than him. I would never forget. He said Timberlake couldn't hold Bubbles' teacup. I mean, I was in tears.
But it's also true. So
I mean, yeah, he's not wrong.
yeah, exactly. So you can't argue with him.
So
Yeah,
now we're
yeah.
gonna,
It's just so
yeah,
many personalities on there. Yeah, good
really, what
times.
shit, Jesus?
Yeah, Jesus.
That's
Exactly.
crazy. Like the man used to be
See,
posting in general discussion. He had the Abby of the dog with the ski mask, and I'm like,
yeah.
wow. Now this
It's
man
like,
is on
he's
TV. That's the craziest shit.
hosting the Daily Show. I was like,
Yeah.
this is all right.
But my favorite shit was when somebody tried to kick knowledge in the general discussion, and somebody always had that post saying, "Take this shit to activists."
Yeah.
Oh man, fun times. So now we're going to get into the 5 question segment. So the first
All
and last
right.
question I ask every guest I have on here, questions 2 through 4, 100% random. So question number one, what was CA's go-to school lunch items?
Whew. All right. So let me see. It changed. In elementary school when I was in Brooklyn, it was pretty much we would go out to eat, or we would leave school and go next door or somewhere down the street and get a slice of pizza or Jamaican beef patty with cocoa bread. That's pretty
Okay.
much. And then when I moved to South Jersey and I was going to public school, Tasty cakes. It was a lot. I was heavy in the tasty cake game. Uh, Slushies. We get
Oh,
I'd
come
OD on
on.
on slushies. And what else? And then at the cafeteria, I get tacos when it was taco day. That's about it.
Word. Question number two. Have you ever had a bad celebrity encounter?
A bad celebrity. I had a couple.
Please let fill it. Put us in the know.
So one night I went to Webster Hall in New York City to watch Common. I think Common performed with Nerd.
Yeah.
and so and so I had a good time. It was all right. It was when the Common did that album with Pharrell producing. It wasn't the best
Ooh,
album.
Universal Mind
Yeah.
Control.
Yeah.
Sheesh.
And I'm a big Common fan, but I was like, it's okay. So I had quite a few many drinks. And then as while I'm exiting, I'm walking down Broadway, and then I get a slice of pizza, and then I see somebody standing outside, and it's Lloyd Daniels, Sweet Pea. You remember
Yeah.
the basketball player?
He used to play for the Spurs back in the day.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm drunk. I'm like, "Oh, Sweet Pea, what's going on?" And he's like, "Hey, how you doing, man?" He starts talking to me like he knows me, and he's like sitting there. He's eating like spaghetti out of like a little to go to go container,
Yeah.
and then he's like, "Hey, man, hey, what are you doing right now?" I was like, "Oh, I'm just going home." He said, "Hey, you want to go to the strip club? I got, we could just go. You got any money? We could just head up to the strip." I was like, "No, no, Sweet Pea, this ain't happening."
You got any money? The NBA player is asking you.
Yeah,
That's
exactly,
that's crazy.
exactly. So that's a bad one. And another one I would say, my first time on South Beach.
Mm-hmm.
I might have been like, I don't know, 18 years old or something like that. I was there with my sister and my brother-in-law, and we was having a good time or whatever, and we're walking past like one of those little restaurants that are right there on South Beach. And then I'm like, hey. And then my sister's like, oh, look, Alonzo Mourning. so
Oh boy. Here we go.
so I have a camera, and then I'm gonna take a picture of Alonzo Mourning, and then but his boy puts up a hand to block Alonzo Mourning. I'm like, come on, man, just ruin my whole moment. So
Man.
that just strengthened my agenda against I fuck no every single time. I, I'm kind of
So,
mad he won the championship. I wish he never won. All
oh
because of
man,
that.
that's funny.
I'm petty.
So, while we're on the subject of celebrities, question number three: who was your first celebrity crush?
Mm. See, it might be Janet Jackson as Charlene on on Different Strokes. I think she had the nice little hairdo,
Mm-hmm.
and she had Willis going crazy. Willis always doing backflips and acting a damn fool. So
I don't
yeah,
blame
I
her.
would say her.
I don't blame Willis one bit.
Nah, me neither. So yeah, I would say her. And then when I started watching like Video Music Box was a big go-to. It was kind of like every day when I come home from school, it's Video Music Box.
Yeah.
Just watching videos. So it's obviously different rappers, whether it's Salt and Pepper and Sweet Tea, all that.
All right. Question number four: what's the one well-liked hip hop song that you're not a fan of?
I'll say probably a lot. There might be a lot of them. Well, like hip hop song. Uh,
Well, let me be more specific. What's a well-liked song among purists that you're not a fan of?
oh, I would say you could you could say a lot of NWA songs
Okay.
that you can you can say NWA's discography. You can put that.
Ooh, ooh, this man's dropping the hammer.
Yeah, yeah, you can say that.
Okay.
I just wasn't a fan. I didn't even back then. Because just being from New York, it was so foreign to us.
Yeah,
And then
that makes
it
sense.
looked foreign, the sound was foreign, and then just being really uh New York centric. It was just
Yeah,
everything just like what are you guys doing? And it feels like we recreated hip hop and everybody else was like doing some offbeat shit. That's kind of how my feelings on Southern hip hop go to.
hey,
So
I
when
hear
I'm
you.
like, like yeah, I just don't feel that. I need the boom bap.
That's why I love every time when K Bad tries to lobby so hard for UGK and trying to get you to sway your opinion.
Yeah, I
Like,
tried.
please check them out. And he's like, man, you beating a dead horse at this point.
I
The
tried.
man likes what he likes. I
I
was like,
try. It's
man,
not that they're bad. It's just it's not my thing.
yes.
Like even like when the Ghetto Boys came out, I was like, why is it so dusty out there? Why they got a midget? I was just so confused. Why is a midget? He got one eye. What is going on
Oh
down
man.
south?
And last question. What was the last thing that really made you laugh?
Last thing that really made me laugh. Um, let's see. That's a good one. Well, yes, since we were talking about old movies earlier, yesterday I was watching Nighthawks. You ever see Nighthawks?
Oh shit, with Sylvester Stallone and
Billy D.
Billy D. Williams.
Yeah, yeah. Just the way, just the way Sylvester was acting so hard. Uh, he was. It was just both of them. I think Sylvester
Yeah,
and Billy D. Williams, both of them. They
man.
really had me cracking up.
I forgot about that movie. I wonder if that's on Tubi.
It should be. It should be on the front page.
I know, right? Man, so if there's anything you want to plug or promote, the floor is yours.
Uh nah, nothing. If you just check me out on Twitter, CA Huggins. Um, I'll be putting out some more books. I got a new series that I'm working on. It's called the Gully Town series. I'm writing it under another pen name. It's um it's going to be about like a private eye detective type of vigilante type of guy in a fictional town, and it's going to be kind of like a spoof on like urban fiction type of thing.
I
With different elements like science fiction, weird stuff going on. So that's the next thing I'm working on.
looking forward
Oh,
to it.
also you can check me out on We're Better Than You, our college basketball podcast.
How did I forget about that? Please go into
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
How did that podcast come to be? Because
Uh,
I always look forward to listening to y'all every Wednesday. Seriously.
so so Ba from Okayplayer and Hot Firestarter is an avid Duke fan, and we spent years on the aforementioned OK Sports Board going back and forth for
Yes.
years about Duke versus Kentucky, and our personalities are kind of similar. So we kind of just like formed a bond or just going back and forth. And then like a couple of years ago, it seemed like we stopped arguing as much with each other and just started arguing with other people. So he came to me. He's like, "Yo, we should do a podcast where we just talk about Duke and Kentucky and just
Yeah.
ignore all the other teams." I was like, "Hey, I'm down because I'm not watching or caring about the other teams, so that's perfect." Like today, perfect example. I saw they named the SEC Coach of the Year, and it was some guy Lamont Davis or something from
Oh,
South
Lamont
Carolina.
Paris. Yeah.
Okay, there you go. I was like, who is this guy? What team is he on? I was like, I never heard of him. But yeah, we played him a couple times, maybe. I don't know. So yeah, that's been fun to do. Just talking about our teams, thinking about where we're gonna go. And also it opens us up for a lot of failures because if our teams do badly, we ain't got nothing to talk about. We just go feel sorry for ourselves. So
Yeah. Speaking of which, I loved it. I started cracking up. One of the episodes, it just said, "We sorry."
yeah, that's how we just
I like,
commiserating.
I was like, you know what? I respect it. It's just he just got right to the point.
Yeah, so I expect Bob to have some good rants, especially about that UNC game.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I saw you partying.
Oh yeah. I had to. Me, especially Rick. Oh my God.
Yeah, Rick.
Well, Rick was he was that man was losing his mind during that game. It was
Yeah.
such it was like such the most fascinating case study I've ever took part of. Man, but make sure y'all check out the We're Better Than You podcast. It's a
Yeah.
discussion about Duke and Kentucky college basketball. It's such just such a great podcast to listen to.
But
Man,
fans of other teams can enjoy it too. I mean, we might touch on your
yeah,
team.
yeah. I mean, there may be shots thrown your way in terms of in regards to your team, but you know what? It's all in good fun.
Yeah.
So make sure y'all check that podcast out. And thank you for listening. Download, make sure you like, download, and subscribe to Since We Last Spoke. Make sure you follow my YouTube page. I'm at Danny Foxworth 843. And there you can find all the video episodes or video versions of all my episodes for this podcast, as well as my baseball podcast at the plate with Danny Foxworth. And for CA and myself, this has been another episode of Since We Last Spoke. And until next time, y'all be good. Peace.
Thank you, Dan.
Appreciate it, man.